Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the execution factor by Kim Perell, and we're going to unpack a fundamental, honestly kind of uncomfortable truth about success. You know, we've all heard the phrase, ideas are a dime a dozen, but we rarely stop to think about what that actually means for our own ambitions. Today, we're exploring the core concept that having a brilliant idea, a massive goal, or a grand vision is really just a dream. Well, until you can actually execute it.
Okay, let's dive into this by shattering a massive illusion right off the bat. We are totally conditioned to believe success looks like that clean, 45-degree angle straight to the top. But look at the reality on the right. It's a tangled, chaotic, messy scribble that loops back on itself before eventually pointing upward. Success is almost never a straight line. It's filled with ditches, winding curves, and detours. And navigating that tangled mess requires a very specific skill set.
And that brings us to a really foundational truth. Your idea is just a dream until you execute it. You see, it isn't your IQ, it isn't just plain hard work, and it definitely isn't just having one brilliant, unique idea that guarantees you'll reach your goals. Execution is the true separator between dreamers and doers in both business and life. It's the ability to actually do the thing, get results, and keep moving forward despite all those inevitable hardships we just talked about.
Now, to prove that this execution framework actually works in the real world, let's quickly track the battle-tested journey of the author herself, Kim Perell. Back in 1998, she was a broke college senior literally pitching her own parents for a loan. By 23, after grinding away in a startup, the dot-com bubble bursts, leaving her bankrupt, unemployed, and totally devastated. But she didn't stop. She borrowed 10 grand from her grandmother, moved to Hawaii, and started a new digital marketing company right from her kitchen table, working basically around the clock. And by 2008, she sold that very company for $30 million. She went from broke to a multimillionaire by mastering exactly what we're discussing today.
So, why is mastering execution so absolutely urgent for you? Well, consider this shocking statistic from Harvard Business School. 90%. 90% of business strategies fail entirely due to poor execution. Just think about the sheer magnitude of that for a second. It means 9 out of 10 incredible, well-funded, brilliant ideas completely fall apart. Not because the idea was bad, but because the people behind them just couldn't translate their strategic decisions into actual, sustained action.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we actually fix that 90% failure rate. This is the execution factor framework. It operates as a perfectly balanced ecosystem. Think of it not as a ladder you climb, but as a wheel. These 5 traits, vision, passion, action, resilience, and relationships, they all have to work together like forces of nature. If you lean way too hard on one and ignore the others, the whole wheel breaks and your execution stalls out. You really need to develop all of these traits into daily habits to navigate that messy, tangled road to success.
Let's quickly break down these 5 interconnected traits before we really zoom in on the first one. Vision is your North Star, right? It's knowing exactly where you're going. Passion is the emotional connection. It's what you're actually willing to sacrifice and suffer for. Action is taking that terrifying first step and not getting stuck in analysis paralysis. Resilience is your elasticity, your ability to bounce back from those inevitable setbacks. And relationships are the human touch, recognizing that absolutely no one achieves extraordinary success entirely on their own. Together, these traits completely disrupt complacency.
Trait 1. Finding your North Star.
Look, if you don't get vision right, the other 4 traits are just going to drive you really fast in the completely wrong direction. To understand the raw power of vision, consider this historical example. Back in May 1961, the U.S. was reeling. The Berlin Wall had just gone up, the Bay of Pigs invasion was a failure, and the Soviet Union had just beaten America to space. The country was in total chaos. So, President John F. Kennedy delivered a vision. Before the decade was out, they would land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth. He didn't know exactly how it would be done, but he provided a clear, unshakable objective. And that is exactly what a personal North Star does for you. It guides you through the chaotic path to success when everything else is going wrong.
If you take absolutely nothing else away from this section, please remember this. Action without vision is just busyness. I mean, we all know people who are constantly exhausted, furiously checking items off their daily to-do list, but they never actually seem to get anywhere in life. Congratulations, you've built a highly efficient hamster wheel. Without a crystal clear vision that you can actually see and feel, you don't even know what goals you should be setting in the first place.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely reframes a word we use every single day. When we build a vision, we're constantly told to follow our passion. But look at the actual definition here. The word passion comes from the Latin root patius, which literally means suffering or enduring. So mastering passion and execution isn't just about identifying what you love to do on a sunny afternoon. It's about identifying what you are actively willing to sacrifice for, what you're willing to suffer for to see your vision come to life.
Living someone else's dream.
To show you exactly what happens when your vision lacks that true internal passion, let's look at a guy named Darren. Darren was a hospital maintenance manager for 17 years, and he made the absolute best chili in the world. Whenever he made it, his friends and family pushed him, telling him he had to open a food truck. They saw dollar signs and the super fun business. But actually, Darren brought his lunch to work to save money and, frankly, never even ate at food trucks. When he finally caved to all that external pressure and bought the truck, his internal reality was pure stress, anger, and absolutely zero desire to prep, cook, and serve food to complete strangers all day long.
And the crucial point here is this. Darren failed because he was executing someone else's vision. And the crazy thing is, he actually did the hard parts. He invested his life savings, he quit his stable day job, he took food safety classes, he even worked shifts on other trucks. But the whole venture collapsed, and he ended up completely broke and had to sell the truck. Why? Because the vision never belonged to him. The dream belonged to his friends. You simply cannot successfully execute a vision that isn't authentically yours.
Refining your vision.
Let's move to this and see how it builds. How do you ensure you don't end up like Darren and actually guarantee your own vision is built to survive the brutal execution phase? Well, here are the 3 mandatory rules for a functional vision. First, it's got to be crystal clear. You have to be able to see it, touch it, and easily articulate it to someone else in a single sentence. Second, it must be meaningful to you. It has to compel your passion so much that you're willing to suffer for it. And third, it has to feel comfortable and congruent with who you are. If thinking about your vision fills you with a sense of anger or deep, misaligned stress, rather than just, a normal fear of failure, you need to step back. You must be chasing a dream for you, not one pressured onto you by others.
Which brings us to a direct pulse check question for you to really reflect on today. Why are you here? And I don't just mean what you hope to achieve, like a promotion or starting a new business, but why? If you don't know exactly where you are going and why it authentically matters to you, your actions are just going to be chaos. So take a hard look at your own goals today. Are you driving toward your own North Star, or are you just busy building someone else's dream? Decide today, and then get ready to execute.